Well, hey everybody. It's the 12th day of June 2025, a Thursday. I'm Jan Erickson. This is As Above, So Below. Let's go ahead and get started here. I hope you're having a good week. Way too much pollen here for my my opinion anyway. I can't take it. It's too much. I get an instant headache, so I can't stay out for very long. I have to drink a bunch of tea and take an allergy pill. It's that bad. I think we're at like 10 for a few days, and then 9.5, and then it goes back up to 10. It's like, you know, and it's grasses, and I don't have any walnut here, any walnut trees. I only have one really small oak tree that I planted years ago. It's just never done anything. It's in the wrong place. And but there's grass because I have pasture, and there's juniper, which I have a lot of. So yeah, that's what's getting me. And so forgive me if I start losing my voice here today. But anyway, let's start out with Vunyo. Vunyo is the eighth rune of the Elder Futhark, and it means joy and fellowship. It's the wish rune. It's about peace and harmony and success and happiness. Reminds me of the Three of Cups with the women, dancing together amidst their harvest, raising their cups high. That's what it reminds me of. Vunyo does. So we start out in a very positive way here. We'll see if the runes mess all that up. The Geomancy runes mess all that up. We'll see, though. No, we have Vaya. Vaya is the complement of populace, whereas populace, this would be populace, is about being it's a very passive influence, is following along with the crowd. Vaya, on the other hand, is setting your own course. It's following your own path. It's initiation, essentially, versus, and so it's an active principle versus the passive populace, where you're just going along with everybody. So it's up to you today to initiate and manifest the joy and fellowship and love and harmony and peace and well-being in your life and success today, that a new path may be opening for you to do that. So if things have not been going well for you, this could signal a different change. Sometimes it just has to do with your outlook too, and how you see anything. If you've been, very negative and hesitant to engage with people, and you just haven't really felt like, being around people, today may be a day where something happens and a new path opens, and you're ready to take that step forward into a more collaborative experience or harmony, or maybe you get together with friends or something today, and maybe that you haven't seen for a while because you just haven't felt like it, and maybe it's something like that. But let's take a look at the cards. We'll pull 3 cards. Well, I've got two cards from the major arcana, the Devil and the Emperor. And on the surface of it, I don't know, they're kind of one and the same these days. But we also have the Seven of Cups. So different kind of strength with the Devil and the Emperor. That's interesting. And then having, I kind of see the seven in a couple different ways, either having your head in the clouds or dreaming new dreams. And I mean, that might be something that you could, if you looked at it that way, all the opportunities, all the things you want to have in life. And, you could say that it's unrealistic because they're sitting in the clouds, but are they? I've always said this, at first blush, it might be that way. And I know the card tends to read that way for a lot of people. But if you don't take that leap of faith, if you don't take that leap into something new and something more, and how do you know? It might not be realistic right today, but, 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, suddenly you're in a position to manifest a lot of this stuff. And because you thought about it initially, even though it might seem out of reach today, tomorrow it may not be. And so that's why I say that balancing realism with maybe unrealism, if you will, with hopes and dreams and fantasy and all of that. If you can find some way to balance that with the 7 here, there's about balance and observation and letting things settle out. You don't know what's possible. And so this could be possibilities versus what's realistic right now, and finding a balance there. And so to see that kind of in more of a positive way, with Vunyo, it's setting that course for something better for yourself between Vunyo and Vaya. But before we go any further, I really should stop here and let me do the numerology. So we have an 8 for Vunyo, we have 15 for the devil, we have 7, and we have 4 for the emperor. So we have 34, and that reduces to 7. I'll just do that one more time to be sure. 8 plus 15 plus 7 plus 4. Yep, 34. So 7, and again, 7 being, again, I just talked about that with this card here, the idea of observation and balance and letting things settle out and seeing what the real deal is and or in the case of Vunyo and Vaya, what's possible. And I think also with the 7 of Cups, I think that's all about what's possible in this new path that could be opening for you today. But I think the council is with the devil and the emperor. And so if we look at the devil first, we're looking at what's guiding you. 15 reduces to 6, and that's a lot of the time about guidance and empathy and shared path and all of that. But what's guiding you? Is the ego guiding you? The devil would be the ego, being a slave to desire, basically, a slave to the ego. You have these two people here that are chained around their necks, attached to this post that the devil figure is perched on. And it's almost, he's in his hands are in the as above so below stance of the magician. But instead of having a wand pointed to spirit or to heaven in this hand, he's got his torch, his lighted torch, practically setting the oak leaf tail on fire. You can see it. You can actually see it seem like it's on fire there. You've got the red on the inside of it, and you've got the same thing here with the torch. So it's almost lighting the masculine side of self, or the projective side of self on fire. It's like, go, 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 and do all these things that again aren't realistic, that are ego-based. So you're going to have to find some balance between that and then your inner authority of the emperor. The emperor comes after the empress. It starts talking about structure after the empress gives birth to creation. What does that creation look like? And what kind of authority are you going to have for yourself? Are you going to give that away to other people? Are you going to give that away to the ego within or the devil within? Or are you going to manifest things? You see the Aries rams, it reminds me of Aries is the ram, represented by the ram. And so you've got the ram's heads here, and he's in battle attire. You only see it here. You can barely see it here, maybe on his arms. You can see the gloves here, maybe, or the whatever they wear on the forearm there, because I don't think there's gloves here. I think that's his hands, although it could be. But he's holding a scepter in one hand and a ball, which is a recurrent theme amongst royalty here in the Rider-Waite, but just in royalty period. You look at I think King Charles had the same. He had a scepter and a ball, or I think there was a picture of him with that, maybe. I'm not sure, but I think so. You see the mountains behind him. You see a sense of balance here with between the dark and the light, but there's still a level of strength with the emperor, who's the authority. He's thought to be the father aspect, whereas the empress would be the mother aspect in the tarot. But he's about reason and discipline, but he's also about ambition. And if we're talking today about how do we take a new path that brings joy and happiness and peace and grants our wishes and creates harmony and love and fellowship in our lives, we might think that that's unrealistic, but at the same time, how do you know if you don't take that first step? And if the energy is there for it, why don't you just do that and see what happens? You could be on a path now for something that totally takes you outside your comfort zone, but maybe into something that makes you even more comfortable and happier and more successful. And so between the two, since they're both major arcana cards and that's soul archetype cards, it's higher self asking you to understand the difference between expressing authority in a disciplined and reasoned way and, one that is not. And so you would then look at this as, here is reason, here is fantasy, but at the same time, you have to find a balance for it. Because again, if you don't think about what you want for the future, what you want your success to look like, what you want your happiness to look like, how do you know when the path shows up if that's the right one? Or do you just sit there and stay, wrapped up in the ego and be negative and say, oh, well, I'm not going to try that. It's trying new things so that you can then manifest something that's even better for yourself in your life. And again, I think that it's balancing reason with fantasy, or reason with possibility. Sometimes, possibilities are there and you're just a little too nervous to take them. And I think I think what the reading is trying to say here is the only way that you're going to manifest that joy on that new path and that new happiness and success that path can give you is to look at it something in terms of, in other words, don't throw it out of the window just because it might seem unrealistic today. Tomorrow, something may happen where it's totally realistic. And it's the end result of all of your hard work and all of the risk that you took to maybe say, you know what? I'm going to take night classes. I'm going to go ahead and keep working in the day. I'm going to take some classes. I have an idea about what I might want to do with my life, and it doesn't include doing what I'm doing now. But the only way to do that is to go to school and, get some higher education, and, maybe you want to, work, maybe you want to be a bookkeeper and you don't know how to do that, but you gotta work, gotta pay the bills. So you go to college and you learn some accounting and you learn how to do that. That would be one thing, all kinds of things can happen. Or maybe you want to become a teacher and you have to, or a lawyer or whatever. But the only way to do that is to keep doing your day job while you go to school at night. And so it might take you a little bit longer, but you get there. So some people may say to you, oh, well, that's just unrealistic because look at all the time it's going to take you. It's going to take you so much more time than if you simply went to college and that was what you did all day long. But you can't. Maybe you've got kids, you've got a family, and there are other people that need you, that depend on you. So you can't just simply leave your job and have no money coming in to go do this other thing, right? And so you have to be realistic about it. And so it may take you more time, and there may be people that don't support you with it. But then in the end, you prove them wrong. And so, maybe one of these is an education, higher education, so that you can have a better job and you can make more money and you can move into a different home or buy a home or something and create more material security for yourself. But other people may not see it, and not be particularly supportive of something like that. But in your heart, you know that this is the path I need to be on, right? So I think that's what, and in the end, you're going to have the success and the joy and a different level of fellowship with people, maybe with Vunyo here, by taking that path that may seem unrealistic. But if you play it out in your head and you can see that you can see the goal being reached, and you work really hard, then why wouldn't you take that path? Why would you continue to listen to the ego-mindedness of other people, or to have your own self-doubt here and just say, well, I'm really fine where I am. I'm doing okay. And but in the back of your mind, it's like, yeah, but I really want something else. And so that's why whenever I draw the Seven of Cups, I'm not so quick to say, you're being unrealistic or anything like that. I just think that with some self-discipline with the Emperor versus, the ego driving everything with the Devil, you have the opportunity to take a new path that could bring you success and joy and well-being in your life, that not taking it just leaves the status quo and, leaves the ego in charge. It's just impulsive. I'm going to do this and this and this. And there's no real planning for the future. Whereas with the Emperor, there's a lot of planning for the future. It's, you're reestablishing a new foundation, a new structure, a new sense of groundedness for yourself that is based on seeing something that you want and then going for it, no matter how scary that might be, no matter how challenging it might be, no matter what other people, your family, your friends say about it all. They're not the ones that do it. They're not the ones that have that goal in mind, or want that particular life, in the future for themselves. And they're not the ones then that are going to take that path to get there. That's you. You're the one that's going to do that. And so think about that today, how that resonates. If there's something you've always wanted to do, and it could bring you, more success, more money in your life, more material security in your life, more happiness, and you see a path opens, maybe consider taking it and seeing where it goes. Play it out in your mind to its ultimate end, and think about what it is going to take for you to do that, and get things in order, and maybe push yourself in that direction and see what happens. You might find that it's a little bit scary and unnerving at first, but it's also exciting, to take a different path, to take a new step in a different direction, to where something is possible for you. And I used to always say to people, consider the possibility of this or that, whatever it is. What would that look like for you? What would it take to get there? And then see if something doesn't happen where suddenly you're in a position where, a door's open and I might be able to do that. It's like in a job. If you have a job and you're getting all these, you're refining your skills within it. Well, the boss may see something in you where he or she wants to put you in a supervisory role, and you think, oh my God, I can't do that. But then suddenly you're there, and it's like, wow, yeah, I can. I do have the skill set to do this. And so sometimes we don't think about things that way. We just think, oh well, no, I can't do that. I'm fine where I am. It's like, maybe you're not. Maybe you should consider the possibility of a different path in your life. So anyhow, I think that's it for Thursday. For Thor's Day, expansion and making everything bigger day. So anyhow, thanks for watching. And check out the blog over at Stepping Aside. The address there is imsteppingaside.com. If you forget, click on more below the video, and a box will open, and it'll be right there at the top. And consider subscribing if you haven't to the channel. I would appreciate it if you did that. And come back again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.